Hey everyone, thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Levies from Datagate Telecom Billing, and I'm here today with Bob Bascom from Charleston Telecom Solutions, who's a long-term Datagate client, along with Steve Taylor from Alternative Payments.
Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Taylor, part of the alternative payments team. We're really excited to have this conversation, and I'm excited to share Bob's story. And we also have a very special guest, Baxter Lanius from the team, the CEO of Alternative Payments.
Hey Baxter.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Good to see you. Sorry, I didn't see you there for a minute. Thank you for joining
No
us.
worries, no worries.
Yeah. Also, this idea for this interview came about at this year's SkySwitch Vectors event, where I caught up with Bob, as we often do at that great event for SkySwitch. He mentioned that after watching the recording that you and I recorded, Baxter, recently about alternative payments, he made a decision to switch over to alternative payments. And he told me a bit about his experience there, and we thought it'd be great to talk with Bob directly online and to get an understanding of his experience there.
Yeah, exactly. And, we thought it'd be great to sit down with Bob and hear directly from him about how his billing and payments processes have evolved, starting from his original work with Datagate through his integration with alternative payments and what that full stack looks like today. With that, I'd love to dive in and hear Bob's full story.
Sure.
Bob. Hi,
So,
Bob.
thank you for inviting me here. It's a pleasure. So I started even before I went with Datagate, I had another alternative company, and they did CRM and they did invoicing and rating, which Datagate does now. And the problem was when I got paid, it was just lump sum payments that went into my bank account, and I couldn't, not at all. I couldn't make sure that I was getting paid for every invoice that was charged. It was just everything was in that payment, including fees. Um, and so I moved over to Datagate, and I used another alternative payment solution. It was much better than it was originally, but there was still something lacking. Like if I wanted to charge back fees or wanted fees to be paid by the customer, I couldn't do that. It was just an all or nothing switch that I could turn on, and everybody would pay a fee, would pay their own fees, or no one would pay, or it was an all or nothing proposition. And what I really liked about alternative payments was I could turn it on and off on a customer basis, and I do that. Currently, if I have a good hosted customer that pays me every month, I absorb those fees. But if they don't pay me, now I have the ability to say if they're late paying or if it's a one-off invoice, I can turn that switch on a customer by customer basis and let them pay the fees. And that has really helped because once they start paying the fees, then they either switch to ACH or they pay on time or they pay by check. So it was a great feature addition to how I charge my customers through the payment port.
Excellent. And Bob, is this the use of alternative payments? And of course, I should point out for our listeners, we can use the term alternatives as a generic term, and we can also use it as the cool name of alternative payments, which is one of our very trusted partners of Datagate Telecom Billing. So when you shifted to alternative payments, I mean, what effect did that have from your customer's point of view? Did that have any effect on collections or any other aspects of your interaction with customers?
Yeah, well, in my old solution, I didn't have any statistics on what the average payment time was and what percentage was paid automatically and which was paid manually. I'm starting to see that data now, which is great, but I really don't have anything to compare it to with the other solution I was using. It's a pretty easy portal to use. Of course, it's a transition. You have to send out correspondence to your customers and tell them about the new portal and how it's going to work. So that's a normal bump in the road when you do that. But so far, everything is working out well. There was an issue. It was a minor issue before where they weren't getting the actual PDF invoice on that. And so they were a little confused. They didn't know they had to log in to see the invoice. But that feature's been enabled by alternative payments, and it's great. Now, if you want, I can give you a little overview of the whole process, how it works
Yes.
now. So we do our hosted voice over IP or month-to-month invoices through Datagate. And once I generate the invoice, I just mark it as sent, even though I don't send it. And then I just export it into QuickBooks Online and I forget about it. Because once it gets to QuickBooks Online, it immediately gets imported into alternative payments. And then I have a rule set up that it on creation, it sends out an invoice to the customer. So I don't have to send out invoices. Alternative payment does that for me. So, and then, as I mentioned before to you, Mark, we have one-off invoices that don't go through Datagate. They're done through Autotask. And then those also go when they're created, they also get automatically imported into QuickBooks Online and the same process. Then it goes right into alternative payments. And with the two integrations, if they log into the portal and they want to download an invoice, or if it gets attached to their initial email, it pulls the image either from Datagate or from QuickBooks, so they see whatever the image they would see if I emailed it to them. So it's really has saved us a lot of time and streamlined our invoicing process every day.
Perfect. And Bob, do you ever get customers that don't pay on time, or?
Everybody does, Mark. Everybody has those. So, yeah. So, it really, initially I had set out, as I told you before, all my hosted customers, I was absorbing the fees. If they were a hosted customer, I was absorbing the fees. So we sent out an initial email to all our customers saying that we had there's fees for credit cards and debit cards, and here's the rate. But if you pay by ACH or pay on time, we will absorb those fees. And just sending it out right away, there was a few customers that just really started paying on time after that. And then there was a few that they didn't pay on time, and then when they finally paid, they had to pay the fee until the next time they paid. They paid with an ACH. So it's helping lower those fees as well. So it's really good that I have the power to turn that on. And then there's customers who, they'll do it's a one-off job. It's a big wiring job, and maybe it's $10,000 job. And if they want to pay with credit card, that's fine. But I'm not going to absorb the fee on a job like that, because they're just a one-off job. So now I can turn that switch so that they have to pay the fees themselves. Because some people think, credit card, you absorb those fees sometimes when you get paid on time, because the money in your hand is worth more to have that money in the hand than in 30 days or 60 days. So a lot of times vendors will absorb that just to get that money right away. But what they do is they want to use the credit card and they don't want to even pay it right away. So now with the ability to have them pay those fees, it works out really well.
Excellent. Oh, that's fantastic. Bob, we've got two payment experts with us today on this call with Baxter Anius, CEO of Alternative Payments. We've got Steve Taylor here as well. So I'd like to sort of throw over to them some questions that they may have for you. Thank you.
I'd actually love to rewind a little bit. We kind of dived right into the story, and I think it would be helpful for the audience who are watching this. Bob, could you give us like a quick overview of what Charleston Telecom Solutions does and what your role there is?
Sure. I'm the owner of Charleston Telecom Solutions. We're a small telecom company in the Charleston, South Carolina area. Our main business is hosted voice over IP service to business customers. We also do other non-hosted products and services, such as we'll do voice and data wiring. We do some fiber optic cabling. We do some surveillance cameras and some door access. So that's really our products that we service and sell.
And I noticed you use Autotask, but it does not sound like you're doing, like traditional MSP type work. You're staying in telecom and structured cabling and security and that type of stuff, right?
Yes.
Okay. And before implementing the automation that you have today between Datagate and alternative payments, what did your billing and payments process look like before? I know you mentioned that, everything was kind of like one lump sum, but like how disjointed was it really?
Well, we used to use another alternative. I don't want to mention their name, but we used them before we signed on with Datagate, and they would rate the calls, and they would produce an invoice, and they had a built-in payment portal and processor, uh, and that worked well for the processing their invoices. What didn't work well was those invoices never got imported into our accounting program, which is QuickBooks Online. So and when the money came in, when I was funded for those credit card payments, it was very, very difficult, if not impossible, to trying to trace which invoices are included in that funding payment. So it caused a lot of problems. Number one, I was taking their word for it that they were funding me everything that they should have funded me. And number two, I was carrying a different account of receivables, one for my hosted and one for my non-hosted one-off invoices.
Mm.
So the original problem that we faced when we first signed on with Datagate.
That makes
Uh,
perfect sense. Yeah.
After we signed on with Datagate, that streamlined a lot of that issue because we could generate invoices in Datagate, and we could export them into QuickBooks Online, and then we're carrying our accounts receivable in QuickBooks Online instead of in Datagate. So that solved a lot of problems, and then we signed up with a third party company that did our credit card processing and our auto payments,
Mhm.
and that worked well. That worked well, but the problems we had with that was that we couldn't selectively have customers pay the fees themselves instead of us absorbing those fees. And that was one problem. It was a little more difficult when the payments were made. I had to go in and select the invoices that were paid and get a match before I could in my accounting program. And it wasn't that bad, but sometimes you spend a lot of time trying to find this match. Uh, uh, so that was one. And it was costing me more. I was getting 4 invoices every month. I got an invoice from the software company that had the portal, and I got an invoice from the processor, and I got an invoice from a second processor that did only ACH payments. So it was a lot of invoices, and frankly I think I was paying more than I needed to pay uh, for that process.
I will have more questions about how alternative payments has helped, but
Mhm.
I think where we should start is we should actually have you talk more about what Datagate solved for you, and how it helps you manage complex rating, usage, taxes, all that stuff, right? Because
Right.
I think that's important for us to set a foundation with what Datagate helped you solve for the telecom side, and then we can
Right.
talk more about the billing and payment
Sure.
side.
Sure. So the problems that Datagate solved for me was it was much easier to do rating on different services. It was right out of the box. It was very easy to set up a product uh, and assign the taxes to it and start charging for that. So and then we've also started using other services that they're rating for us as well. One of them is SMS texting. We're getting a file that goes in every day uh, to Datagate, and they rate those SMS messages. Um, so, and then the other thing I think there's another service, although I can't recall. Well, I think there's 3 things that we're rating, but they've really increased the ability to understand that, and also they have a link, and we use another product for quoting. Quoter is the name of it, and they integrate with Quoter. So once I do the quote, that quote goes into Autotask, but it also goes into I can automatically import those products right into Datagate when I get a signed agreement. So those are really the things that Datagate has really solved for me um, on the month to month telecom side.
That's awesome. Now, I used to run an MSP, and I did a little bit of VoIP, but it was more like the referral type VoIP where I just got a kickback and the other company took care of all the
Yeah,
VoIP for them.
right,
The one thing that always scared me away from doing VoIP was the taxes and the regulations. So how
right.
does Datagate help you manage all of that?
With Datagate, we have a company that does that has an integration with our with the tax engine, and they rate all the products that I invoice on. What I really like about Datagate, which I didn't have with my previous provider, was I can download a tax file, one huge tax file, and I can go into it. It's a CSV file, so I can go into it and I can filter very easily. So if I want to filter on E911 charges in Texas, I can filter that tax file very quickly, and I can see that, and I can just quickly add up those numbers. So when I go to file my taxes, it's very easy to do with that tax file, and that's something I couldn't do with the previous provider. They did have reports that I could download, but you had to search for the report. Whenever you were looking for, you had to filter at the report initiation level, and now it's much easier with this big tax CSV file.
And Mark, you understand your product and telecom way better than I do. So please jump in, man. I'm sure you've got some questions.
Well, you and Bob are doing a great job of telling the story. I think the key thing from Datagate's point of view is that we like to integrate and align with great software solutions for MSPs alongside Datagate. And this is the reason why we're here with alternative payments today. And I know Bob runs an excellent business in Charleston, and he's been a long-term customer with us, and has used a number of the integrated solutions, as he's mentioned. And I'm really glad to hear this, and I'd always look forward to catching up with Bob. He's one of the MSPs that we regularly catch up with, and we get feedback, and we like to act on the feedback that we get. And Bob is a very trusted and valued client of Datagate. And so again, thank you all for being here today on this discussion.
No problem. My pleasure.
Wonderful.
Well,
So, Mark, is there anything else that you want to know that Bob is doing on the Datagate side, at least for like billing accuracy, tax compliance type stuff?
no, I think
Okay.
Bob's told it really well, actually. Yeah. I think. I think it was great that Bob also mentioned that it was he actually saw the discussion between myself and Baxter a while back, and that prompted him to try alternative payments too. That was good. Yeah. So great to have Baxter
Wonderful.
on the call as well. But yeah, do you have further questioning on the payment side? Yeah.
I do, yeah. So, I want to talk. So we built the foundation around Datagate. Now I'd like to talk about how alternative payments kind of took what was already awesome with the upgrade to Datagate and just made it even better for you, Bob. So you mentioned, like being able to pass on the credit card fees, and I know you're probably excited that you're able to set up auto pay, and that you've got one bill instead of four bills. The first thing I want to talk about is the credit card fee thing. Um, did you get a lot of pushback? Because I know that's one thing that MSPs are always nervous about. So most of our clients are MSPs, so that's why I keep saying MSPs, even though you're telecom, but IT companies. They're always a little nervous about putting those fees back onto their customer. Did you get a lot of pushback when you started doing that?
I did not, because I only if you're a hosted customer, you didn't get those fees unless you were late, and we're not talking 5 days late or 3 days late. Sometimes it might be 30 days late, or even longer than that. And so I don't have a problem with turning those fees on. We sent out an email that told them that we would continue to absorb those fees, provided that they either set up auto pay or they paid their invoice on time. So they can still go back to that state of not having to pay those fees, but it gives me a little more leverage when I can turn on those fees for them, that they have to pay those fees or pass those fees on to them. So it gives me more leverage. It actually helps my collections when I do that. But you were right, because there is a fear, because I entertained it with the other provider, because they had a global switch you could turn on and everybody pays the fee. And I really hesitated to do that because you don't want to lose a customer because of a fee. It's not worth losing it for a fee. And but now I have a lot of control of who I charge the fee to and who I don't.
Wonderful.
Do you feel like you have all the flexibility that you need on the fee side and on the control of your customer kind of DSO?
Well, it would be better if it was an automatic thing. If you could set it up that if the invoice is so many days late, the fees automatically are passed on to the customer. That would be perfect. That would be the best of everything right there.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's a manual process, but it's something I didn't have before. I'm really happy.
That's a good idea. I'm gonna submit that to our team. But anytime, just so you know, Bob, anytime you have ideas, we can send you a link where you can submit all kinds of ideas to our dev team, and they'll prioritize, especially as more partners start to submit the same ideas. We definitely prioritize those because we build this for you. So when we think about kind of the experience for your customers, have you had any clients, I don't know, say anything like, or have they mentioned like, oh, this experience, the checkout experience is better, or anything like that? And maybe it's just for the overall checkout experience. Maybe they like the guest checkout or the pay now links, any of that.
I have heard from a few customers about that. They like the port. The port's nice, streamlined, and it's easy to use. And they can log in without a password if they choose to do that. What I like, which alternative payments just enabled, was attaching the PDF file to the email. That wasn't there initially, and that did cause some confusion with some customers who they want to see the invoice. They don't. They just want to download the invoice. They didn't want to log in just to get the invoice. So that was a welcome addition when alternative payments turned that on.
Have you ever looked at the Insights tab in alternative payments platform?
I did, but until recently there wasn't a lot of data there. So it's starting to collect. There's a month worth of data there now. So I'm starting to see more trends that I didn't see initially, and it's way more than I had before. I didn't have any data on that in the past on payments.
Yeah, it's really cool too, Bob. You can look at it on a per customer basis. So you can dig into some of the slower paying customers, and you can click into the data and say, well, maybe what's driving some of the slow paying customers, or how large are they from a revenue perspective. So it's another kind of value add component as you obviously start using the data more frequently.
Right.
Have you noticed any improvements in either how quickly you get paid, or how many payments are made inside the portal versus, I don't know, outside of the portal with checks or anything like that?
Well, previously I didn't have that data wasn't easy to find. I would have to do a lot of digging to find that data. Now I can see the percentage. I think it's like 68%. I looked yesterday. I think 68% of invoices are paid automatically, and like 71 or 72% is based on the value of the invoice. So I didn't get that data before, so it's all new to me. And I can, as time goes on, I'll be able to see trends and work a little better with that data.
And When you think about the automation that you have now versus before, first of all, are you using alternative payments to create the deposits in QuickBooks?
Um, I haven't done that yet. I was using Quoter before, had an integration that I was using, and I'm not doing that now. So we're doing the deposits manually now. It's only been a month since we went online with
Sure.
alternative payments, so I haven't delved into that,
So
integrated with that.
there's a simple, it's a single checkbox, and it's in the integration section under QuickBooks settings, if I recall correctly. And it's just a checkbox that says, do you want it to create the deposits? And Baxter, correct me if I'm wrong, it'll create the deposit, it'll link up all the payments that are associated with that deposit, and then any credit card fees you absorbed will also be included in that. So that way it's deducting those fees from the right chart of accounts, ledger item, to make it real easy for you to reconcile everything. So basically we're doing our best to automate everything from invoice going out to the customer, payment being made, payment created in QuickBooks, deposit created in QuickBooks, and then all you should have to do is random audits and bank reconciliation to the bank statement.
Yeah, that's correct. Before I would have to, because there'll be a batch payment of maybe there's 5 invoices in that batch payment, and it'll all be attached to a deposit automatically into QuickBooks. I thought that was great how that works, and it subtracts the fees right there and puts it in an expense account, which is great. Now I can look at my my financial reports, and I can see what I'm paying right there for fees, which was harder to do that because it was a separate invoice, and it just wasn't as clear as it is now on my financial reports.
Yeah, it's
that's
funny,
great.
Bob. The way we've tried to build the business is you can hold us accountable for being a service provider, right? And so we want to try to give you that data to say, oh, well, is alternative payments charging you too much or too little, or to really streamline that so that you can quickly say, well, listen, this is driving value for my business as opposed to this is being just another cost to my business.
Right. No, that's one of my best surprises when I went online with alternative payments. I was looking for, because normally I would have to go in and when the payment hit my bank account, let's say it was $1,200.52, I would have to check all the invoices until I got the exact match, and then I would import that into QuickBooks. I would match that. Now that's done automatically. It comes in. If it gets a match, it automatically goes in, and I don't even have to do that. It's all done automatically. So
yeah, that's all.
I had a question and I lost it. Don't you hate when that happens?
I do.
No.
It happens more and more
Yeah, as you get older, right?
as you get older, right?
I just remembered it. How much time did you used to spend before Datagate and alternative payments on all of the billing and reporting and all that stuff?
On the invoicing side, I've always had an invoicing software that rated calls. I've always had that. So the actual time to create the invoices, it didn't take that long then. But what I didn't have, I was guessing on the data. It didn't import, the invoice didn't import into QuickBooks. So I would only show that as income when the money hit my bank account. Then I would credit as income. So I didn't have an accounts receivable that I wasn't integrated with my other accounts receivable. And it was hard to find the data. It was very difficult to see the data. But that's improved. With Datagate, it's improved. On the tax side, it is much easier to do tax filings than it was before. It's much easier through Datagate with the CSV file that I can download and I can do that for a whole year. I can do that for a quarter. I do it for quarters, for months, for the year. and then I can when I have to file my 499 reports, the data is right there. So that piece of it has really saved me a lot of time.
And that's great. And you're also notably able to file your own telecom tax returns, which I think is generally considered to be a complex area, and it's I think it's pretty noteworthy that you're actually doing that yourself, probably saving an amount of money.
It started out in necessity, Mark. Okay, I couldn't afford to pay anyone to do it, and it's been so long that I actually enjoy doing it. Believe it or not, it's something to do. It keeps my mind focused and fresh, working with all those calculations, and it's not so bad. After a while, you've done everything so many times. It's really not hard to do. So eventually, I'm going to move that. I'm going to move that over to someone else. But right now, I still do it.
Yeah, excellent.
And I'm sure it's probably difficult to put, like a number of hours or a percentage of time or anything like that. But if you had to, take an educated guess, can you think about how much time savings that you've been able to make after implementing both solutions?
I would probably say, and this is just a ballpark number I'm going to throw out there. I would say maybe 5 hours a week. I'd probably save by doing this.
That's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Mark, do you have any other questions before I go on to something else?
Just look, it's great to hear that. It's a big time saving for you, Bob, and enabling you to file your own tax returns at the same time as also achieving 5 hour reduction. And is that how do you use the extra 5 hours, Bob?
Yeah.
Is that
trying to grow the business?
Grow the business, absolutely. Yep, the valuable work there. Yeah. Great. No, thank you. Yeah.
Have these tools helped your business scale or reduce errors? I know they've saved you time.
Yeah, it saves time. It definitely reduces errors, and it makes the business scalable. I know another business that in the same business we are. These are SkySwitch partners. Well, and he does it manually. He does it, I think, through QuickBooks, which means he has to rate his own calls, and he has to set up auto. I don't know how he does auto pay because you don't do auto pay through QuickBooks. So I'm not sure how he's doing that, but it's a lot of time he's doing. So when you invest in these tools, you pay for these tools every month, but it enables you to scale. So you can, whether you're doing, 20 invoices a day or 1,000 invoices a day, it scales when you have these automated tools.
And you said you have a friend doing it all manually?
Yeah.
What if you were talking to your friend right now, what would you say to him to convince him that he needs to invest in these platforms to save a bunch of time and maybe even money?
Well, I would just say that it scales. It scales better than you can't do 1,000 invoices to do it manually. You'll be there for a week, but it's cost of doing business, and enables you to have a business that is self-sufficient. That it's a machine that kind of runs itself, and you're just the manager that goes in there every now and then and oils the gears and changes the sprockets now and then, but it's a machine that has value and can be sold at a later date if you choose to do that. So you get that when you have automation, and you don't get that when you're the guy who does all the invoicing, and you go on vacation and there's no one there to invoice because no one else knows how to do the invoicing. So there's a lot of benefits to going into more automated system.
And if if you knew a colleague was evaluating platforms for telecom billing or for payment automation, is there anything else that maybe we didn't talk about that you think they should know based on your experience?
Not that I can think of. I mean, it's important. The things we talked about. You have to have integration with your CRM. It has to have integration with your port, with whoever's going to do your auto payments. You have to have auto payments, and you have to have the ability for the customer to have a portal. And you can get a portal if all you want is just a portal to do credit card payments. Then you can do that through QuickBooks directly. But they don't have an ability to set up auto payments, which was and other vendors out there who can do payments, who can do credit card and ACH payments. They don't have an automated portal that will do auto billing as well. So you really need to have a partner that does that, a vendor that can do that for you, that is efficient at doing that. That's pretty. I'm drawing a mental blank here. So
Okay.
you want a vendor who is you can see what they're charging you. It's very clear what they're charging you and what you're paying for your services. So in my previous company, it wasn't clear. So I would get an invoice. It was a process, I got an invoice, from the processor, and there would be, all the credit card payments that were made and all the ACH payments that were made and all the debit card payments that were made, and the fees were all in there. And then there's another line that had the other fees for this, and there's just more fees. But you can't link that to a customer. You can't say, well, all right, this customer, the value that I gave this customer, and this is what I charged them, and this is what I had to pay in fees, or this is what they absorbed in fees. You can't easily see that information before, but I can see that now, and I can decide whether it's worth absorbing the fees for that customer. Do I want to push harder on ACH payments, and so forth? So I can do that with the tools that I have, and I couldn't do that before.
And I know we did our joint webinar with Datagate on February 19th. It was a Wednesday at 1:00. Were you already a Datagate partner at that point?
I was.
And how long have you been a partner with Datagate?
Since I think it was since 2020. It was 2000.
Okay, so it's been a while with them.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was looking for another partner to do the processing and the portal and the auto pay. I've been looking for a while. So when I saw the webinar, I jumped on it. And then shortly after that, I got a phone call right away from someone at Alternative Payment, and I went through a demo and so forth, and signed up.
That's
So
fantastic.
I think my first full month was May. I think May 1st. I think it was May 1st. It might have been April 1st. I can't recall. I think maybe it was April 1st with my first full month.
Yeah. And Bob, we've obviously met regularly at the SkySwitch Vectors conferences, and I think you are a very much a thought leader in the SkySwitch community. Do you have anything to say about your association with SkySwitch and the community there? Do partners talk to each other much? And
yeah, they do. It's that's one of the reasons why that I like to go there. I mean, you go there because you want to see what's new, what SkySwitch is working on, what new features are coming out, what their roadmap looks like. And the other reason why you go there is you want to talk to other partners just like you and find out what they're doing. And one of the things I talked about, I think it was last year, was because I was really wondering if I should turn on feeds for my hosted customers. And most of my people I talked to said, no, don't do that. Build it in somewhere. And I don't like to build it in somewhere. I mean, I want to have truth in billing. I don't want to have some fee there that a lot of my competitors do that. The big companies do that. They have a fee for this and a fee for that, and they're not even real fees. They're just a place where they build in more money to make up for some costs that they can't pass on to the customers. So I didn't want to do that. So when I heard that alternative payments all I wanted to do is be able to turn it on when I needed to turn it on for a customer who's not hosted or a customer who's not paying on time. I wanted to be able to do that. And alternative payments allows me to do that.
Now, I have one last question, another off the cuff one, and fingers crossed it goes well. So we always talk about how easy it is for alternative payments to migrate your customers' payment data from your soon-to-be former provider to us and have everything, be PCI compliant in that process. Did you migrate your customer payment data, and how easy?
I did. Well, I had to download the a file from my previous company, and then I was able to pass that data along to a company that does that. They're PCI compliant. They specialize in that, and it worked really well. There was a couple things that didn't come across. I think it might have been 2 or 3 payments that cards for one reason or another didn't come across, but that was minor, and we were able to get that data. I've done this migration before like in 2020, and I had to migrate every single one of them manually. I had to call the customer. We're upgrading our system. Can we get your credit card? And that was a nightmare because they don't call you back right away. And but this was great. In fact, I had already made the decision to go over to alternative payments, so that was kind of like icing on the cake to take it to that.
Awesome.
That's amazing. It's great to hear.
Mark, before I wrap up, Mark, do you have anything else you want to say or ask or anything?
No, I would just like to thank you all, but especially Bob, for your time today. It's always good to hear your feedback, Bob, and we're definitely on your side. We want to, we're glad to hear the positive feedback, and always looking for the great input you give us. So thank you, and I'll pass back to you, Steve. Thank you.
Thank you. Baxter, same question.
Yeah, no, just Bob, again, I would just echo what Mark just said. Really appreciate your time and thought. And if we can ever support you in other ways, Datagate, alternative payments, we're always here for you. So thanks so much.
Well, I appreciate your hard work in both your companies, and thank you for having me today.
Bob, thanks so much for walking us through your journey from manual billing to where you are now with a fully automated quote to cash system. We really appreciate your perspective. It's always great to hear how IT professionals are combining Datagate, alternative payments, and other best-in-class tools to streamline billing, simplify payments, and make life easier for both their teams and their customers. And for anyone watching, if you're looking to improve your billing, payments, or integrations like Bob has, feel free to reach out to either of our teams, the folks over at Datagate, us here at Alternative Payments. We are both very passionate about our products. We think we've built something great for IT companies like yours to streamline and automate what you do when it comes to accounts receivable. And even in the future, we're going to help with accounts payable. So hop on a call. Let's get you a demo. It is very easy, laid back, not a high pressure sales thing. And thanks again for watching. You have a great day.